as we are starting, I am going to go ahead and put up kind of like, I know we're introducing ourselves in the chat, but I'm going to put up an official poll, um, which is to let us know a little bit more about who is in the audience, especially for our speakers today. If you can tell us, what do you do? What is your background? Are you a nurse? Are you a pediatrician or a doula, a researcher? So we've got a good sense of who is with us. My name is Michelle Skaer Therrien. I am the Executive Director of the International Childbirth Initiative, and I am thrilled to be welcoming you to the first webinar of our 2025 webinar series with ICI. So it's great to see a lot of familiar faces here with us for this session, where we are going to be talking about perinatal loss, and we have two fantastic speakers with us. We have Anisha Johnson, who is a dedicated perinatal health education specialist. She's a doula and a mother who is passionate about empowering individuals to take control of their birthing experiences. And in 2008, Anisha experienced the sudden and unexpected loss of her 16-month-old child, which profoundly shaped her mission and led her to found the Miles Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that invests in and develops initiatives led by people of color locally in the United States and internationally. And our second speaker today will be Nonkululeko Shibula, who is a certified doula perinatal bereavement facilitator in South Africa. And she is the founder of Umzanyana Birth Services. And she is also dedicated to supporting families through childbirth and beyond. So she is also a bereaved parent, as well as a board member of the International Stillbirth Alliance. And she combines her personal experience with her professional expertise to provide compassionate care. So we have two fantastic speakers with us today. If anyone hasn't responded to the poll yet, I'm going to ask you to really quickly answer that. We've got a good mixture of folks here. For those of you who are just coming in, I don't know if you can see the poll. All right, so we've got some nurses, some midwives, some obstetricians and doulas, as well as program managers and one other. Here we go. Sorry, I'm sharing the results now so you can see that. So we've got people still coming in, so this may not be fully representative of everyone who we've got with us today, but we've got a bit of a mixture of folks, which is really fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to end that poll. And for those of you who are new, I think most of you know who we are, but the International Childbirth Initiative provides a framework for the implementation of safe and respectful care practices and policies through the 12 steps for safe and respectful mother, baby, family, and maternity care. It is implemented through individual health facilities through a process that is focused on self-evaluation, reflection, and goal setting, as well as community participation. It was founded by the International Mother Baby Childbirth organization, the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, the International Pediatric Association, the International Confederation of Midwives, and the White Ribbon Alliance. So we are really pleased to welcome you today. And I'm going to put up just one more poll before we launch into the main content for today, as we are going to be talking about perinatal loss. I would like to ask everyone who is here today about your experiences coming into this, whether that is, and please choose everything that applies. Have you received any previous training on how to manage perinatal loss? Are you responsible for setting policies for your maternity unit about responses? Do you have personal experience caring for a family? Do you have experience trying to support your colleagues during a perinatal loss, or have you not had to do any of this? So please, sorry, this is like a little bit of a longer poll, but if you can give us a sense of what your experience has been, so we know, this will help us focus our discussion, which we should have a good amount of time for discussion today. All right, I'll give you just another few seconds to respond to that poll while I'm pulling up the video. And we've pre-recorded the videos, but our speakers are here with us today, so. Okay. And a lot of you have answered the poll, so I'm going to go ahead and share those results. So So this is okay. So 44% of you have had training on managing perinatal loss, and that is equivalent to the number of you who have cared for a family. So I hope that that is like a one-to-one where everyone who has had to care for a family has received previous training. I don't know if that is the case. Maybe we can discuss that later if any of you have not. Um, okay, Sue is here. We've still got folks coming in. 25% of you have had to set policy, and 25% of you also have had to support your team, and 31% have not had to do any of that. So this is really, I think, helpful for our presenters to know um, what we are looking at as far as the composition of today's group. All right, so I am going to go ahead and we're going to start with Anisha's presentation and then go on to Nonkuleko's. But please, as we're going through, please feel free to put in your comments and questions into the chat. All right.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to be talking to you about responding compassionately following a perinatal loss. So, the loss of a pregnancy or death of a baby is unlike any other. Though we mean well, sometimes our attempts to comfort a patient in the time of loss cause more heartache. So, sometimes saying nothing at all can be equally um, as hurtful. So we really want to find the right words to say, and I'm hoping to provide you a little bit with that today. All right, so we're going to cover a few things today, and we won't be able to go into all of this with a whole lot of detail. But we definitely want to get to what is not helpful to say following loss, as well as how we can have empathetic communication. And then I just want to give you a couple of practical considerations as well as self-care. So, understanding how can we really begin to respond? The first thing, of course, as you have heard, is really taking a step back and making sure that everyone on the team has some type of general understanding of what perinatal loss is. So we want to make sure that we have a working definition of it. We know that this includes miscarriage and stillbirth and neonatal death and even vanishing twin syndrome and SUDC, which is the sudden unexpected death in childhood, which is what my son was diagnosed with. And we really want to just state that grief is so multifaceted, it's so profound. For many mothers, this is going to be traumatic. And the trauma can really manifest in many different ways. It can look like helplessness, it can look like avoidance. The medical environment, while it's very necessarily, can inadvertently contribute to trauma if it's not handled with sensitivity. So we really want to recognize that a mother's physiological and psychological responses may be a result of trauma that she has experienced. And so I really love this quote by one of the grief facilitators through the Resolve Through Sharing organization that reminds us that we are a bridge to hope. So this is just to remind all of you providers that we are strong enough to hold the weight of heavy hearts. We're sound enough to weigh the winds of anger, absorbent to take in all the tears. With each plank of that bridge, there's a tiny heart and a tiny teardrop that shows us the way home. And you are the bridge. And this is just a nod to my home of the San Francisco Bay Area and to so many of the families that I have had the opportunity to be a bridge for, and that we all, as a bereaved community, continue to be that bridge. And you're a part of that. You want to remember that as you are supporting families. So let's really talk about the provider's role and extending beyond that after there is a loss. So your role really does extend far beyond medical procedures. When there is a loss, you are a crucial source of support and comfort during this really, really vulnerable time. It is really important that that safe space be created just because the hospital environment can be so overwhelming. And it's also really different from what this family was expecting. So many times, even though the family may have known that the baby was not viable, still sometimes in their mind, they believe that maybe that there is a chance of hope that the baby will be viable. So that hospital environment can kind of go from just this place of happiness and just they're kind of a place of hope to the reality, which can be a place that is extremely overwhelming. So it really is up to us to strive to create that atmosphere that does feel warm and that really does promote that emotional safety that the families need following that loss. We want to also just remind you that we can't judge one's grief. We can't judge how they grieve. We cannot judge what they do following a loss. We do need to allow families to express their grief without judgment. Um, One of the last times that I supported someone in the labor and delivery space following a stillbirth, the family wanted to take the time to dress the baby, and she had two baby books that she wanted to read to her baby that was deceased. And she was able to do that. And I was really, really proud of the way the OBs and the nurses and myself as the doula all supported this mom to be able to have her moment to read her books to her baby following the loss. And no one judged that. No one judged that time that she gave to her baby. And we just always keep in mind that we want to advocate for what the family wishes, what they want. Definitely always staying within our ethical and medical boundaries, but also just remembering that this may be, and this is the only time that this family is going to be able to have that appointment and with a doctor. So something that a lot of families were really looking forward to, and that future is gone in terms of this particular child. All right, so there are probably so many more um, things that we all could probably come up with in terms of what is not helpful to say to a family who has experienced perinatal loss. There's so many things, but these things really do just kind of, take the cake as things that I know from my own learned and lived experience that are just not really helpful. Um, at least. When we start our sentence off with at least it wasn't this, at least you have other children, at least you didn't have the baby for a long time, it can really, really feel hurtful and not helpful. Everything happens for a reason. Time heals all wounds. And I know that it sometimes can feel really natural for providers to say, it's going to be okay. But for a family who has experienced a loss, and particularly in the hospital setting, at that moment, they feel like everything is not okay, and they don't know how it ever is going to be okay. So making statements like it's going to be okay can really leave that mom and leave the family feeling really just confused, and almost upset because we don't know how it's ever going to be okay, in that moment, even though there definitely is hope, through our grief and through our experience. You are young, you can have more children, be thankful for the children you have, let go, move on, and God has a plan. We definitely want to stay away from making moral statements that have to do with spirituality, like God has a plan. Um, it just, again, is something that is not helpful. No false comfort. So again, when we are trying to provide comfort to families in the medical setting or given your organization, or even if this person is postpartum and you are a doula providing bereavement support, unless you have actually experienced a perinatal loss personally, we do want to stay away from saying, I know how you feel. And as well as time heals all wounds, you have other children, and be strong. The be strong comment within itself really can be a part of a much larger conversation, which is about the what we call like the pushing through theory or the pushing through paradigm. And that is that you just need to be strong, kind of get it together and push through this thing. And that definitely is a message that a lot of families get, and a lot of families tell me. That's definitely a message that I got. Like, we really need you to be strong right now. We need you to be strong right now. And it really, again, can feel really defeating. And over time, just not add to your healing, and really can kind of add to like more of a complicated grief healing. And it can trigger depression and anxiety because, again, we don't know how to be strong, and this is not our time to be strong. We want to feel like we can be vulnerable and really just try to process this extremely traumatic event that has taken place. I'm just reminding here that following the loss, particularly in a medical setting and in a clinical setting, there is oftentimes many different personnel, many different medical staff and social workers and doulas and even outside community organizations that could be entering into that hospital room. So I know that here in the Bay Area, when there is a loss, we're oftentimes collaborating with many different hospital personnel that we may not have normally be partnering with, or who may not normally be allowed in the hospital space. So with that being said, with all of these kind of some folks who are new and different public health nurses and medical social workers and that type of thing coming into the space, we really want to make sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of how we are addressing the family and how we are addressing the baby's existence. So, I love that in some hospitals that I provided support for, they have taken the time to do a kind of a signal on the door, like leaving a white rose taped to the outside of the hospital room, just as that constant reminder that this is a bereaved family, that maybe put that family at the end of the hospital hall and not next to laboring people so that they don't have to listen to the cries of baby and that type of thing, to be sensitive to that. So we just want to remind you that as we're checking on families, kind of want to stay away from asking, are you feeling better in the days following their loss? Making sure that we really do use plain language and that we're using the baby's name or the preferred name that they would like to call the baby. And we want to be open to whatever it is that the family says. If the family says that they refer to the baby as jelly bean or as peanut, we want to be asking them, what is your baby's name? Tell me a little bit about Jelly Bean. What was Peanut like? So they can just have that time to really talk about the bond that they have built with the baby in utero. Sometimes families have said, oh yeah, my baby, he loves spicy foods. He loved that song. He loved when I used to say this, type of thing. And we just want to give that parenting, that time for them to have that moment of parenting. So what can we say? What is empathetic? What feels empathetic to families? Well, it definitely feels empathetic to say, I am so incredibly sorry for your loss. There are no words to truly express how sorry I am. This is devastating news, and I'm here for you. But we just want to remind you that whatever you say in that moment, make sure that you are focusing on the family, and that you are saying something that really feels genuine. So these are kind of like opening lines that you can say. And then, kind of after you state these kind of opening lines about, expressing your condolences and saying how incredibly sorry you are, you then can go to acknowledging the baby, okay, and asking them to tell me a little bit about their baby. That can feel just incredibly validating to the family. And then from there, you can offer that support and choice by asking them, how can I support you right now? Would you like to hold your baby? Always offer this, but never pressure the family. And then, as we just heard about, we can ask them, we can help you create some memories if you like, and you can offer the different memory making opportunities that your organization might have. And then lastly, when leaving the room, you can always state, I'll be just outside if you need anything. Okay, just take things at your own pace and really giving that family some space and just some time, okay, to process. We want to validate that perinatal loss can be extremely traumatic. And this, when we do that, validation is definitely helpful to keep in mind that all reactions are normal and valid. Parents are also really appreciate when the provider is non-judgmental, when they can clearly just explain in layman's terms what happened. Even if we don't know the details of what happened or what was the cause of the baby's death, we can just explain kind of what we know. In the case of sudden unexplained death of a childhood, SUDC, like in my case, there is no answer. The answer that is there is considered unexplained, but still there is explanation in that, and there's community there, and it is just kind of explaining kind of what we do know. Okay, so we want to make sure that we do provide that as much as possible. And then if there's procedures that are getting ready to take place, give the parents as much information as possible about the procedure. Try to prepare the families for how the baby will look. So it's important to let them know that the baby might look different. There might be discoloration. There might be skin slippage. There could be hardening of the body. And we want to let the families know that because it can kind of be those things right there that can really add to the traumatic portion of the loss if we're not handling that part really sensitively. Okay. And then lastly, parents want to be treated as parents. They are a parent, and it helps to really treat them as parents and give them that opportunity. So because grief is a time where a lot of times we want to share, and we really, as providers, and even for myself as someone who is a lost mom but also is a provider, it can be hard to know when it's okay to share. Okay, and so the general rule of this is, when is it okay to share is when the other person really asks. Okay, when there's a request from the family, such as, have you heard this before or met others who feel this way? If you were in this situation, what would you do? If families begin to ask you questions like that and they're really asking you to share, it is okay to share, but just be mindful that you want to stay focused on the other person's experiences and not your own, and be mindful of how you share your experience, because it does impact interactions. So, what happens if you have experienced a loss yourself? And again, this is something that many of us in the bereavement doula community, in nurses and the hospitals, many of us have also had this parallel experience, and so it can be incredibly difficult to be a provider and you have experienced a loss yourself. So the first thing is, we want to ground ourselves. We want to take a pause ourselves, kind of do that temperature check on kind of where we are given that day, because it's always a day by day process, no matter how long it's been from your loss experience. But you can disclose, okay? You can disclose. And again, that disclosure wants to be brief. It needs to be really genuine. We want to be definitely not minimizing their experience or making it about you, but it is okay to disclose. And so some things that you can say is, I understand what you're going through. I lost my baby too. I know how incredibly painful it is. I am so sorry for your loss. I went through something similar, and I want you to know that you're not alone. But again, when you're having this conversation, you kind of want to watch the cues of the family, kind of see how they're responding, because some families are going to be really ready and really wanting that type of dialogue. And then other people just want to just focus on their own experience, and we have to be ready just to respect that space and be ready for like a lot of different type of reactions that can happen. And so being ready for different reactions following a loss, there are so many self-care tools, but this is one that I just want to remind all of us about as providers, and that is to use the PRAM self-inventory tool. Okay, and this just gives us a moment to really just ground ourselves. after a loss, we as providers have to pause. We have to ground ourselves, take those deep breaths, take some time, nourish yourself, really speak with your team, with your leadership. Take time to reflect. And really not just reflecting on the experience, but reflecting on your own life. It's time for us to find the gratitude in for our own families, and for the work that we do to support other families. Acknowledge. We want to acknowledge that this job is hard. It's very difficult, okay? It is tough. And we want to be able to just remember to acknowledge that. And so, and with that acknowledgement, that's kind of our reminder to be gentle with yourself, be slow with your days following a loss after you have supported someone. The M is to be mindful of your body, what your body is calling in, how you are feeling in the days, weeks, even months after supporting someone or bearing witness to a loss, in a clinical setting or even outside of the clinical setting. It's when you have supported someone who has experienced a loss, they're never going to forget you, and you probably are never going to forget them, either. Okay. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you for your time. I am the founder of the Mouse Foundation, as we stated earlier. I would love to connect with you and to add you to my listserv for future webinars and events. Please visit themilesfoundation.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anisha. I think that this is a really good introduction for people. Let me see here. Let me just stop my sharing. So we are going to move on to Nonkuleko's presentation, which will be a bit shorter, more like 10 minutes. But I just wanted to comment on in the chat. I think that there's a lot of new material in there. So please, all of you who are here, please go ahead and put your questions and comments. I am going to put up another poll because Nonkuleko's session is going to go over working with families to create a memory box, to create mementos for them to have something to remember from the loss of their baby. And I would love to know if anyone has done something like this. Oh, sorry. Um, um, in their practice. I'm just going to put up a poll really quickly for those of you. Let me go back here who are here. If you could let us know, have you heard about this idea of creating a memory box or a similar tool um, for a family? Have you not, or have you done it yourself? So we've got like a good sense of what your experience has been. So if you could all please go ahead and respond to that. Um, but we're seeing really good, I think, comments in the chat. So I'm looking forward to getting to talk about that with everybody shortly. I'm going to go ahead and get the next presentation started. Um, anyone else able to respond to the poll? Give you a couple more seconds before we keep going. I'm gonna wait for, there we go. Okay, at least half of you have responded. One more second. Anyone else? Um, Maybe not. I know some of you may be on phones or other devices where it might be hard to see the polls. So we have 40% of you who have created a memory box, 27% who have heard about it, and 1/3 of you who have not. So this is going to be totally new material. So that's really fantastic. All right, so we're going to go right into the second presentation, and then we're going to have some good time for discussion.
Greetings, one and all. My name is Nonkululeko Shibula. I am from South Africa. I am bereavement care doula, a bereavement care specialist, and I've been practicing for the past 6 years as a bereavement care doula and a birth doula. I'm also a bereaved mom to a stillborn baby girl, Dando, who was born in the year 2010 and who is a great inspiration to the work that I am doing. I'm also a founder of Umzanyana Birth Services, which is a nonprofit company that is focused on supporting families who have experienced perinatal loss. And so my presentation is actually inspired by how legacy is important in after all has been said and done. When a family loses a baby. Um, so please. Okay. So basically, why memory making matters. It is because it is empowering healthcare workers to support grieving families through memory making. And this is, it also provides tangible connection. It helps parents feel connected to their baby. It supports grief and healing, offers a path to process deep emotions. It facilitates communication. It also encourages vital conversations with loved ones and staff. It creates legacy. It honors the baby's existence as well as the baby's stories. I have, this is one of my favorite quotes from one of the parents. Even though I never had her cry, I have something to hold. These memories gave me something no one could ever take away. So this is one of the one from the parents. This is also a critical emotional lifeline for grieving families. It transforms loss into something tangible. After all has been said and done, the process where a mother is held through giving birth to a baby and after they have lost their baby. It is remembering with love and continuing the bond. Next slide, please. So the role of a healthcare worker, healthcare workers, they play a huge role in this, and we call them champions because they are the ones who provide small actions from stuff that becomes lifelong treasures. Uh, so they are the first to acknowledge their loss with compassion, and their role is to normalize memory making as a standard part of care. The role is also to empower families to choose what feels right, understand that simple actions can bring a lifelong healing. So, as a healthcare provider, you're often the first to witness a baby's life or a baby's death. Your sensitivity and approach can shift how parents remember the experience forever. Next slide, please. So these are some of the practical tools for memory making that I usually suggest. They're not big and they not often take a lot of time, as we understand that healthcare providers um, are usually working under tight deadlines. So photography, we all have smartphones. Given permission by the parents, we can take photos or we can have someone on standby to actually assist with taking photos for our parents. And hand and footprints, we have some toolkits that we can actually use and you can put away to create a hand and footprint making. So either can be a mold or it can be just an ink pad that you can use. Signature cards are very, very vital because you can then write a message that is unique within your ward, maybe using your own language, using your own message that you feel is vital. And we also have printable certificates. So babies who are born still or babies who die in the NICU, their births are not usually They are registered, but you would find that in most countries you have to register a birth and a death at the same time, and the family will not have to baby's birth. So this is when you come in and you create a principal certificate. So we have a lot of AI apps now, and Canva is one of them, where you can just create an unlimited certificates that you can hand over to a family on the day that they leave. Parents may not remember your name, but they will remember how you made them feel. So this part is also important, very important. So memory boxes, I have my own. I have a lot of boxes because I chop and change them all the time. I receive gifts from different members and different people that I meet along my journey. I wrote to my baby, I wrote letters, I wrote poems to her that I basically kept away. I even have forget-me-not seeds that I kept in the box, and I planted some. The custom stickers and art kits, and these stickers are peel and stick, so you can just create a unique sticker that is unique within your ward, and you can hand over to the family. Hospitals can standardize these resources according to how they see fit. Next slide, please. So what you can implement today is making memory possible. So I have a checklist that I usually hand out. It's usually longer than this. When I have workshops with healthcare providers, they would send out their champions. We call them champions because not everybody in the ward, we understand, can be responsible for this part of segment, but they can nominate or appoint someone who can actually be responsible for this. So we offer them checklist. So to offer memory kits without waiting for request. Obviously, this is when you have built a rapport and a relationship with the family. You actually understand, they understand what's going on, and you have communicated clearly, and which makes this part of the work easier. So designates a private quiet room for the family where they can actually spend time with baby and create memories by taking photos and taking prints in private. Train staff in trauma-informed compassionate care, and collaborates with bereavement doulas and supports teams, as well as companions. Some of them, they would allocate companions who are actually responsible for this segment. Thank you. Next slide, please. Creative expressions, they go beyond the hospital. So as part of the list, this is a continuation of the list because some families, not all memories making, they happen besides the bedside. Families may want continued ritual, and so you can just suggest that they write letters to baby, especially when they're not ready to make memories while they are with you as a healthcare professional. So you can urge them or encourage them to make a playlist of songs, plant a tree in memory of the baby. Some of them would even want to get a tattoo, create an art or poetry, however they may feel. Some cultures deeply value rituals and storytelling, so we need to honor that as well. So what I would actually think, put yourself in their shoes and think, what would I want if I were in their shoes? So I have a call-out message which actually provides options. I ask that you provide options and do not assume what families would want. Next slide, please. My call to action is a list of questions that I would ask after today's session. What would you do differently today? How will you make memory making part of your routine? And who can you train or inspire? And what can your department implement this month to make a difference in a family's life by creating their baby's legacy and helping the baby's legacy live on. I thank you. I'll take questions. Next slide, please. So if you would like to collaborate and maybe join some of our trainings and workshops, you can kindly email me. Welcome to assist. Thank you so much for having me.
So thank you so much, Nonkululeko. I think that this was also a really helpful complementary presentation to Anisha's. I hope that these two together really covered a lot for folks. So I would like to go ahead and move on to our discussion and Q&A, and I have some questions. And I did also want to comment, Anisha, I really liked something in your presentation, which was mentioning the importance of, explaining what happened, but also admitting when there's uncertainty and when the provider doesn't actually know what happened. I think that that sometimes can be a difficult thing to admit that they're, or difficult, it might feel better in some cases to say nothing if they don't actually know what happened. But I think that, I mean, I find it reassuring when providers can admit that there is, there have been some unknown occurrences rather than just saying nothing at all. So that was something that I found really helpful that you mentioned. Um, I I don't want to take over the discussion too much, so I do want to open up if people want to, if you and anyone can unmute or you can raise your hand if you have an immediate response, a comment, or a question that you would like to share. Anyone? If not, I'll give you a minute to think as well. And you could also put your comments and questions in the chat if you don't have some. I know we have some good things to share from the chat. Anisha and Nonkululeko, prior to this, I had mentioned that it would be great to hear a little bit more from your perspective about because I saw that we have a lot of people here who are responsible for teams, responsible for training their teams and supporting them. So what do you think are some good steps that our providers can do in order to support those on their team? So whether that is a midwife or the obstetricians or the nurses who have witnessed a perinatal loss and whether or not they admit that that it's a very painful thing for the provider as well. What are some good steps for our teams to consider to support the other healthcare professionals? If either one of you would like to respond to that.
Hello everyone, and it's good morning on my side of things. But I think that some of the things to consider when we as providers have experienced a loss is, again, like I said, first just taking that step back and just realizing how complex it can be for us, and how hard it can be for us as providers. Sometimes we actually, even though it may not be the reality that we didn't cause this, and it's not the reality that there was something in our care that led to this, it still makes us sometimes feel like, what could we have done? What could we have done differently? And we just and then we kind of go down that path, and we want to acknowledge that. So we kind of have to do that kind of like, okay, what's the reality versus what I'm actually feeling here? And then really the overwhelming feeling of feeling so stressed from what we just witnessed, because we are witnessing them, and we can it can really make us just feel so worried and so stressed for this parent. And a short story with and one mom that I was supporting, I was so worried for her because I didn't see that she had support. There was no one else there. They had said that not only did she lose the baby, but very recently before that, she had lost her own mom. So there was like complicated grief, and I just was worried for how she was gonna kind of get on. Well, recently I saw the mom out and about, and she was smiling and had another baby and was really thriving, making connections with friends and just really doing well. So I just want to remind you that there is the hope on the other side. And, when we do see that we're kind of going down that path of really kind of like pitying families and just really stress for them, try to take a step back and remember like about that there is hope, and making sure that you are getting the support that you need. So, that you are either talking to leadership about how you are feeling, that maybe there is some type of space for folks that were there on the unit when the loss happened, so that you can have a space to kind of process everything that's coming up. Because the honest truth is that sometimes when you come home after something like this, you may not really want to talk about it with your family. And even if you do talk about it with your family, they are kind of like, patting your back and comforting you, but you kind of get a feeling that nobody really understands, except for the people that were there with you, and that's going to be your colleagues. So we want to have some type of structure in place for us as professionals in the moment and moving forward, to be able to have that space for us to be able to process. So, and I saw that there was that comment, about how when you left the situation, how angry it made you feel. And I just wanted to validate that that is something that I definitely see. I have experienced that myself. And so we definitely can talk about that.
Thank you so much, Anisha. Nonkululeko, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you so much, Anisha. Can I just add that most of the healthcare providers that we work with, um, a common feeling that they would feel is that they have failed. And trust me, the parents are observing, the family is observing, and they acknowledge each and every part that you played in the event whereby a parent has to be taken care of after losing their child. And no, you have not failed. They know that you have tried your best. If you do not shy away from providing the necessary answers and providing the necessary help, that's a validation on its own that shows that you are present and you acknowledge the situation. So, taking care of yourself and self-care is something that we encourage a lot, but people are not the same and they don't deal with their emotions the same way. So we might have debriefing sessions after supporting a birth or a loss, but not everyone will want to show up. So we have developed a list. I'm not sure if Anisha will be able to share, but we can share with you some of the suggestions how you can look after yourself and be gentle with yourself as well. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Thank you so much, Nonkululeko. I think that that's really, really helpful. Um, I wanted to invite, I'm just looking here to see, Mary. Mary, are you able to unmute and share some of your comments that you had put into the chat? Mary is a midwife who is working in Kenya, a nurse midwife.
Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Yes, I have had some experiences at workplace. Many times you get women coming in, especially those with the high blood pressure during pregnancy. They come in with already the baby has died in the utero. Then you get some midwives with the blame games. they start explaining to the client that this started while you were at ANC clinic. They did not pick up your problem early enough. So this client undergoes stress even before delivery. And after delivery, they are very, very depressed. From this training, I think I'm going to sensitize all midwives how to deal with it, so that these women, when they leave the hospital, they're in a good mind, they're not depressed, then they can also have hope. So it's my role. I've just learned it's my role to support them and support my fellow midwives. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mary. And I saw that you shared that you have not had previous training, like there hasn't been something offered regionally
No.
where you are. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's I think it's a very important point that we know that blame is not helpful. And I think that's something that we're really trying to encourage people to move away from trying to place blame, because it does prevent sort of more productive conversations. Oh, goodbye, Sue. I just saw Sue said that she had to leave, but she said thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for sharing, Mary. I think that I don't know if either of our presenters would like to add anything. Um,
Thank
and
you so much,
Deborah.
Mary, for sharing your experience. Yes, I would just want to add that even if you do not, yes, it's I encourage that you have appointed yourself to being a champion, bereavement care champion. That's what we call them. Because we understand that not everyone is capable of supporting and providing assistance in terms of bereavement care. So that's one of the things that I strongly encourage, that at least have a few champions who are specialized and trained to deal with bereavement care in your wards. So thank you.
I did want to say one thing to about the reaction of parents when parents start to do like the blaming, and they begin to make comments like that, like, saying like, this is your fault, you did this to my baby, and really doing the outward expression. I definitely have witnessed this where maybe the family was having a good experience at this hospital before, and or maybe they were like some things already happening with the organization, like, oh, I have high blood pressure, but I didn't get it diagnosed until later, or little things like that. And then we have this devastating situation, and they begin to do the blaming. But what I want to tell you is that when I see the families really outwardly expressing like that, actually from a doula standpoint, we actually view that as a good thing. We view it as a healthy thing, because they're craving to have some way, somehow to put this feeling into some type of box. And so with the training, we begin to understand how to not personalize this, and actually see this as a place of their empowerment. So we want to reframe what is happening in our mind. So when they're doing that, they're really going at it. They're maybe even using like curse words and things like that. If for me, in my mind, I am telling myself, this is healthy, this is good. I even will tell the mom, yes, go ahead, really express yourself. I will encourage them even, come on, this is all right. You can express yourself right now. You could feel really mad. I'm so mad that this happened to you too, and that's like the reframe of it. So we want to like not resist this, but once they see that you understand that you're viewing their reaction from a place of empowerment, it actually can begin to lessen and quiet that kind of edge, that kind of spirit that you're really coming into contact with. So that's just kind of like a one other way, just a reframe of it. But I know how incredibly tough it is in the moment.
Thank you so much, Anisha. Um, I know that some people are having to go. I just wanted to call out something else in the chat, which is that Deborah Lewis shared that Mama Toto in Trinidad and Tobago, that I believe you're saying it's with your group there, that they produced a booklet that they distribute. Is that to the hospitals in Trinidad and Tobago specifically? That includes a list of things to say and things not to say, that we could also share as a resource attached to the recording of this session. Deborah, I don't know if you're able to unmute and give us a little more context, or if you have any other comments that you'd like to add, or if that's okay if we can share that out with everyone.
Yes, this is Deborah. I will share the soft copy of that booklet. And just to say that our group started called Babies Who Live Only in Our Hearts. And initially was facilitated by the midwives, but we quickly realized that the best persons really to facilitate were women who had actually had the experience. And so they took the group over. We provide the resources through Mama Toto, but it's really led by the people who've actually had the experience. And we have lots of activities. We do the memory boxes. I mean, lots of things. But one of the main things we've done is those booklets, because we've really had to advocate in the public hospital for them to change the way they do things, as everybody would be familiar. So one of the first things we did was advocate for them not to put the women who've had a loss on the same postnatal unit with women with babies. So that was, one of the low-hanging fruits that we really advocated for, and a lot of other work that we've done. But it's been our most successful support group to date, because there is really such a need for it. And it came out, from one of our clients who had had more than one loss and identified that there was just absolutely nowhere for her to go. So I'm happy to share with anyone any questions, and I will send the booklet. It's old now, but I don't think the information, it has changed, and we distribute it free of charge to all of the public and private hospitals, and anybody who asks, we share them. Thanks, Michelle.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks to you, Deborah. I really appreciate it. I see that people are starting to sort of trickle out. So if we don't, I just wanted to see if anyone else has comments or questions that they would like to touch on before we close today. And just as a reminder, this is the first of the webinar series. We are planning to be running them every other Thursday at this time. Oh yes, and if everyone wouldn't mind turning on their cameras, just because I think our speakers haven't met everyone, just so they can kind of see who's here for a second. I meant to do it at the start of the discussion and I forgot to do that. Well, there's been so much going on. Just so we can all see each other. Oh, fantastic. Yes, so we're going to be continuing. Our next session will be on July 17th with a couple attorneys that have been working on some documents with the Center for Reproductive Rights around protecting women's autonomy during childbirth. That's going to be the first of 2 sessions that we'll be doing with them. And then it should be on the third session on July 31st with the World Health Organization is launching their Respectful Care Implementation Compendium. I'm hoping that we will, that date will, the document has not come out yet, but I'm hoping that it should be out by July 31st, and we will be having a session with them. So we will be continuing every other Thursday at this same time. If you registered for this meeting, then you will be registered for the upcoming ones, and you will get reminders. if for some reason you don't want to get reminders, just let me know. If we're I hope we're not sending too many emails to you, but feel free to share this with others on your team, because this will we'll be continuing for the coming months until we run out of subject matter. So if you have also either
heal. I know the person leading this is also trying to um, improve the laws, because there are some legal rights that have this woman, this mother, uh, who is experiencing the perinatal loss, and rights that she loses when the baby dies. So she must come back to work earlier, and she's not good with herself. She's not. Um, she has too much hurt inside, and she is not able to work, and she is not right. She's not fair. She must come back to work, and it's very important to work about these rights too, because I think they have these are universal human rights too, and so I really recognize the importance about all these meetings. It's very grateful to share with you these experiences all over the world, and it's very emotional for me to have this chance, and to try to do something else, mm, to apply universal rights all over the world. And I think we should work a little bit more also with us, because every time as a professional, we must face all these cases. It's very hard for us. It takes some very deep from us to heal ourselves, to support ourselves, to go through this time. So thank you.
Thank you, Clara. And I don't want you to strain your voice too much, so I'll introduce you a little bit, I think, for those who don't know. So Clara is an obstetrician working in Quito, Ecuador, in a public hospital. So just for context, for those of you who haven't met Clara before, thank you so much for sharing, despite the fact that I know that you're very sick and you don't have a voice. Would anyone else like to comment or respond? And I'm just sharing also that Luna in the chat is put some information about a training that is being offered, that is a paid training, but she's saying that if money is an issue, they want it to be accessible, so you can reach out to her if you don't have Luna's information. So I'll put all these together in the resources that we send out as well. So maybe I'll check with you, Luna, to make sure that we attach that as well. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I think we will wrap up if everyone has had a chance to share. I really, really want to thank Anisha and Nonkululeko for joining us today, because this has been a webinar, as I shared with you, that has been a long time in the planning. It was supposed to be part of last year's series, and I think it's a really important topic that we may need to continue to address in different forms, and to keep finding resources and tools for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you'll all be back with us in 2 weeks, and please feel free to share. The registration link for the next session will be the same one. I will send it out again with details about the July 17th and July 31st sessions. And in August, we will also be looking forward to having a session on supporting midwifery autonomy through policies. And so that will be, we'll have details about the upcoming sessions very shortly. Again, please email me for any ideas and feedback. And I just hope you're all having a very good day, and that I will see you all very soon. All right. Take care. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.